text lit up my phone screen one morning like a punch to the gut. Laurent Designs facing bankruptcy. I stared at it, my strawberry smoothie turning bitter in my mouth as that name, Laurent Designs, crawled back into my head. I hadn't thought about it in years, not since I walked away from everything I was supposed to be. My name's Maya. I'm 28 now, and for the last decade I've been carving out a life that's mine, not hers. My mom, Evelyn Laurent, isn't just any mom. She's the Evelyn Laurent, the fashion icon who ruled runways and magazine covers. 10 years ago, when I was 18, she gave me an ultimatum that changed everything. I can still see her standing in that showroom, all sharp cheekbones and sharper words, surrounded by racks of silk gowns. "Maya, this family is fashion," she'd said, her voice slicing through me like a pair of her designer shears. "You're either in or you're out." She wanted me to be her perfect little model, strutting catwalks, smiling for her ads, selling her empire one pose at a time. But I wasn't that girl. I was the oddball sketching wooden toys in the corner while she fitted satin on mannequins. When I told her no, that I'd rather build something than wear it, she didn't just lose it, she erased me. Bank accounts locked, cards canceled, and her final shot, "You're useless without this family." That night, I left with nothing but a backpack and a sketchbook full of ideas she'd mocked. Wooden toys? Who'd buy that crap? She'd laughed once. "Well, Mom, turns out millions would." That text about her empire crumbling wasn't just news, it was a door cracking open. I'm a toy designer now, not her puppet, and today she's about to learn I've built something bigger than she ever dreamed. Even better, I'm holding the keys to her falling castle. I'll never forget that night. The air in Mom's showroom felt thick, like the weight of all her expectations was pressing down on me. I was 18, standing there in front of her, the racks of shimmering dresses catching the light like they were mocking me. Evelyn Laurent wasn't just a mother, she was a force of nature, all high heels and higher standards. "Maya, this isn't a negotiation," she said, her voice cold enough to frost the glass counters. "You're a Laurente. That means you walk the runway, you smile for the cameras, you carry this brand into the future." She'd spent years grooming me for it, dragging me to fittings, shoving me into dresses I hated, telling me my sketches of wooden toys were a waste of time. But that night, I'd had enough. "I'm not your mannequin, Mom," I snapped, clutching my sketchbook like it was a shield. "I want to design, not parade around in your clothes." Her eyes narrowed, and for a second I thought she'd yell. Instead, she laughed, a sharp, cutting sound. "Design? Those little wooden trinkets? You think that's a future? This," she waved at the showroom, "this is your legacy. Stop being a child." I told her I'd never be her billboard, that I'd rather starve than live her dream. That's when she snapped. "Fine. If you won't contribute, you're out." By morning, my bank account was a ghost town, my phone buzzing with access denied alerts from every card she'd ever given me. Her last words as I grabbed my backpack? "Good luck being nothing." I stumbled out into the cold, my whole world shrinking to the sketchbook in my hands and the $20 in my pocket. That's when Liam found me, my best friend since middle school, the guy who'd always believed in my weird ideas. "Crash at my place," he said, tossing me a spare key. His tiny apartment became my lifeline. Me on the couch, him on the floor, pizza boxes piling up as we figured out what came next. A week later, Sophie joined us, a whirlwind of energy who'd quit her retail job to bet on the underdog, as she put it. We'd sit there, the three of us, laughing over my toy sketches while I ranted about Mom. "She thinks no one wants handmade stuff anymore," I'd say. "Let's prove her wrong." It started small, me whittling wooden animals in Liam's kitchen, Sophie hawking them at craft fairs, Liam crunching numbers on a busted laptop. Mom's voice still echoed in my head. Who'd buy that crap? But people did. Kids loved the quirky shapes. Parents loved the eco-friendly vibe. We called it Wooden Wonders, a name Sophie scribbled on a napkin one night. I'd stay up till dawn sanding blocks, my hands raw, my heart pounding with something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Liam quit his barista gig to join full-time. Sophie started a website, and I kept designing. We were broke, exhausted, and living off instant noodles, but every sale felt like a middle finger to Evelyn Laurent. She'd thrown me away, but I wasn't nothing. I was building something, and deep down, I knew one day she'd see it. Those first few months were a blur of splinters and hustle, but slowly, Wooden Wonders started to take shape, literally and figuratively. I'd sit cross-legged on Liam's ratty carpet, carving little wooden foxes and trains, while Sophie sweet-talked craft fair vendors into giving us booth space. Liam tracked every penny, muttering about budgets like a worried dad, but his eyes lit up every time we sold out. It wasn't glamorous. My hands were a mess of cuts. We barely slept, and I swear I still smell sawdust in my dreams. But it was ours. Mom's voice kept sneaking into my head, though. No one's buying that junk. Every time I doubted myself, I'd look at the kids clutching our toys, their parents smiling, and I'd think, watch me prove you wrong. A year in, something clicked. Sophie posted a shaky video of me explaining why I made toys from reclaimed wood, something about giving kids something real in a plastic world, and it went viral. Orders poured in faster than we could carve. Liam rented a tiny workshop with his savings, and I traded my kitchen knife for a real lathe. By year 2, we weren't just a craft fair hustle anymore. Big stores started calling. I'll never forget the day a national toy chain stocked our stuff. Sophie screamed so loud the neighbors banged on the wall. We went from 3 broke dreamers to a team of 10, then 20, then 200. Wooden Wonders became a name. Eco-friendly, handmade, loved by parents who'd pay extra for something that didn't end up in a landfill. 10 years later, we were worth tens of millions, our toys in homes across America, even popping up in celebrity Instagram posts. I'd built an empire out of the crap Mom laughed at. I never looked back, not once. I'd blocked her number, avoided fashion news, buried that part of my life under layers of sawdust and success, until that text about Laurent Designs hit my phone. I was sipping coffee in my office, with a view of Portland's skyline, when it came through. Laurent Designs facing bankruptcy. I scrolled the article, my stomach twisting. Mom's company, the untouchable fashion giant, was a wreck. Lawsuits, debts, whispers of shady deals. The woman who'd called me useless was losing everything she'd lorded over me. Part of me wanted to laugh, to let her crash and burn. But then I saw the numbers. Thousands of jobs on the line. Designers and seamstresses who'd be collateral damage. That's when it hit me. I didn't just want her to fail. I wanted her to see me win. I called Liam and Sophie into my office that afternoon. The 3 of us sprawled around a table covered in toy prototypes. Laurent Designs is tanking, I said, tossing my phone down. Liam raised an eyebrow. Your mom's place? Good riddance. Sophie wasn't so quick to cheer. Wait, what's the play here? You're not thinking of bailing her out, are you? I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Not exactly. She threw me out because I wouldn't be her puppet. Now her company's drowning and I've got the cash to buy it. Liam grinned. Slow. Wicked. You're gonna take it over? I nodded. Not to save her, to save it from her. We dug into the mess that night, pulling reports, calling contacts. Laurent Designs was a disaster. Lost contracts, a plagiarism scandal that had tanked their last runway show, creditors circling like vultures. Mom had always been ruthless, but this was sloppy, desperate. I found an old interview where she bragged about cutting dead weight. Ironic, considering she'd axed me first. Sophie tracked down a whistleblower, some junior designer who'd quit over unpaid wages, and the stories spilled out: fake invoices, offshore accounts, designs ripped off from indie artists. It was everything I'd hated about her world, flashy on the outside, rotten underneath. But I'd spent a decade building something real. Now, I had the chance to turn her failure into my victory, not just for me, but for everyone she'd screwed over along the way. The game was on. The idea hit me like a freight train that night, sitting there with Liam and Sophie, the glow of my laptop casting shadows on the toy-strewn table. Laurent Designs wasn't just failing, it was vulnerable, ripe for the picking. I had the money, the team, the will to make it mine. "We're buying it," I said, my voice steady despite the wild thudding in my chest. Liam leaned forward, eyes glinting. "You serious?" Sophie crossed her arms, skeptical. "Maya, this is your mom's company. You sure you're not just chasing ghosts?" I wasn't. This wasn't about ghosts. It was about justice, about taking back what she'd tried to strip from me, my worth. We got to work fast. Liam set up a shell company, Emerald Ventures, to keep my name out of it. No one could know it was me. Not yet. Sophie tapped her network, digging up dirt on Laurent Designs' finances while I crunched the numbers. The company was bleeding cash, its stock plummeting as investors bailed. I started buying shares quietly, little blocks at a time, using our profits from Wooden Wonders. Every purchase felt like a brick in a wall I was building between me and Mom's legacy. But I needed more than money. I needed an edge. That's where Ethan came in. Ethan was Mom's old assistant, a nervous guy with a conscience who'd quit a year back. Sophie tracked him down at a coffee shop in Seattle, and he spilled everything over a shaky latte. "Evelyn's been cutting corners for years," he said, glancing over his shoulder like she might walk in. "Fake supplier deals, tax dodges. She even stiffed a whole team of designers last spring." He slid me a USB drive. "Proof," he said, "of her offshore accounts and a plagiarism scheme that had sparked the latest lawsuit." I plugged it in that night, and there it was. Emails, bank records, enough to bury her. But I didn't want her in jail. I wanted her out of that damn throne. The plan took shape over weeks. A chess game I played in the dark. Liam handled the legal side, structuring Emerald Ventures so it'd look like some faceless investor swooping in. Sophie kept the rumor mill churning, leaking just enough to spook shareholders into selling cheap. By month's end, we had 30% of Laurent Designs stock. Big, but not enough. I needed to get closer, to feel the pulse of her world again. That's when I saw it. The Portland Fashion Gala, the event of the year for the industry elite. Mom would be there, schmoozing, pretending her empire wasn't crumbling. I'd be there too. But not as Maya. I became Claire Evans, CEO of Emerald Ventures. Sophie helped me pull it off, dyed my hair jet black, swapped my jeans for a sleek pencil skirt, even stuck me in heels I could barely walk in. "You look like a corporate shark," Liam laughed, adjusting my fake glasses. "Good. That's the point," I shot back. The gala was surreal, like stepping into a memory I'd tried to burn. Crystal chandeliers, champagne flutes, designers in overpriced suits, all the glitter Mom lived for. I spotted her across the room, still regal in a silver gown, laughing with a board member like nothing was wrong. My stomach twisted, but I kept my cool. "Miss Evans?" A guy in a tux sidled up. Victor, one of Laurent's top shareholders. I'd memorized his bio. Greedy, twitchy, perfect. "Heard Emerald's been snapping up stock," he said, sipping his drink. "What's your game?" I smiled, all teeth. "Just an investor who sees potential where others see panic. You holding shares?" He smirked. "Maybe. Depends on the offer." By the end of the night, I had his word, 10% more straight to Emerald. 2 other shareholders bit too, spooked by the rumors Sophie'd planted. Mom brushed past me once, her perfume sharp as ever, but she didn't look twice. To her, I was just another suit. Back in my car, I yanked off the wig, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed. Ethan again. "She's losing it," he texted. "Emergency board meeting tomorrow. They're desperate." I grinned into the dark. Desperate was good. Desperate meant I was winning. Liam called as I drove home, voice crackling with excitement. "We're at 42% now. One more push and we've got control." I thought of Mom's face that night, so smug, so blind. "Set it up," I told him. "Next week, we go public with it. I want her to see me take it." Sophie met me at the office later, her laptop glowing with fresh intel. "There's more," she said, sliding it over. "She's meeting with a shady investor tomorrow, some guy named Marcus. Word is, he's her last shot to stay afloat." I scanned the screen. Marcus, a known fixer, the kind who'd prop up a sinking ship with dirty money? "Let her try," I said, leaning back. "It won't save her. 10 years ago, she'd tossed me out like trash. Now, I was the shadow buying her world out from under her, piece by piece. And the best part, she had no idea her own daughter was about to pull the rug out." The morning of the board meeting felt electric, like the air before a storm breaks. I'd barely slept, my mind racing through every move we'd made, every share bought, every secret uncovered. Liam and Sophie were with me in the Wooden Wonders office, the three of us hunched over coffee and laptops, triple-checking the numbers. Emerald Ventures now owned 45% of Lorne Designs, enough to shake the table, maybe even flip it. "You ready for this?" Liam asked, his voice low, like he knew this wasn't just business anymore. I nodded, pulling on my blazer. "I've been ready for 10 years. We'd leaked just enough to the press, vague whispers about a mystery investor to keep the board on edge. Ethan texted me updates. Mom was scrambling. Her meeting with Marcus had fallen through when he saw the headlines. She'd called an emergency session at Laurent's Portland headquarters, and I was walking in as Claire Evans one last time. The wig went back on, the glasses too, but under it all I was Maya, furious, focused, and done hiding. The boardroom smelled like money and desperation, polished wood, expensive cologne, and the faint tang of sweat. Mom sat at the head of the table, her silver hair pulled tight, her face a mask of control that didn't quite reach her eyes. Around her, the board fidgeted, Victor, the guy from the gala, tapping his pen, a gray-hailed woman I remembered from childhood, staring at her hands. I slipped in late, taking a seat near the back, my heart hammering as Mom's voice cut through the room. "We're under attack," she said, slamming a folder down. "This Emerald Ventures, they're vultures. I've filed an injunction. We'll prove this takeover's illegal." I let her talk, let her dig her hole deeper. She ranted about loyalty, about her legacy, how no outsider could touch what she'd built. Victor piped up, nervous. "Evelyn, they've got 45%. If they've got more shareholders on their side," she cut him off. "They don't. We fight this." That's when I stood, my heels clicking on the hardwood as I walked to the front. Every eye followed me, and I felt the weight of 10 years in every step. "Actually," I said, my voice steady, "we do." I dropped a stack of papers on the table. Transfer agreements, stockholder signatures. Emerald Ventures controls 45%, and with these allies, we've got the majority. Mom's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. "Yet. Who the hell are you?" she snapped. I smiled, reaching up to pull off the wig. It fell to the floor in a heap of black curls, and I shook out my real hair. Brown, messy, mine. "I'm your daughter, Mom. Surprise." The room went dead silent. Mom's face drained of color, her mouth parting like she'd been slapped. Victor dropped his pen. The gray-haired woman gasped. "Maya?" I didn't look at them. I locked eyes with her, the woman who'd called me nothing. "You threw me out because I wouldn't be your doll," I said. "Now I'm back, and I own this place." She found her voice, hoarse and furious. "This is fraud. You can't—" I cut her off, sliding Ethan's USB across the table. "Fraud's your game. Offshore accounts, stolen designs. I've got it all. Step down or the feds get it next." She stared at the drive, then at me, and I saw it, the crack in her armor. "You'd ruin me?" she whispered. "No," I said, softer now. "I'm saving what's left. The company, the people. You ran it into the ground. I can fix it." The board murmured, shifting in their seats. Victor spoke up. "She's got the votes, Evelyn, and the evidence." Mom's hands trembled, but she straightened, defiant to the end. "I built this from nothing, and I rebuilt myself from less," I shot back. "Resign, or it's over." It took an hour of arguing, threats, and tense votes, but she caved. The board named me executive chair, effective immediately. As she signed the resignation, I added one more twist. "You're not out completely," I said, sliding her a contract. "Consultant role. Help me save this mess." She looked up, stunned. "Why?" I met her gaze. "Because I'm not you. I don't throw people away." She took the pen, her hand shaking, and signed. The queen was dethroned, but I wasn't done. I was just starting. The air in the boardroom felt different after Mom signed that contract. Less like a battlefield, more like a shaky truce. She didn't say a word as she handed me the pen, her eyes flickering with something I couldn't quite read. Anger, maybe, or the ghost of regret. I didn't gloat. I didn't have the energy. 10 years of hurt had fueled me to this point, but now that I'd won, it wasn't revenge I wanted anymore. It was something bigger. I looked around at the board, Victor nodding slowly, the gray-haired woman wiping her eyes, and knew what I had to do. Laurent Designs wasn't just Mom's anymore. It was mine to reshape. The next few weeks were chaos, but the good kind. Mom took the consultant gig, grudgingly at first, showing up in her crisp blazers like nothing had changed. I'd catch her watching me in meetings, her lips pursed as I laid out plans she'd never have dreamed of. We pivoted hard, ditched the shady suppliers, settled the lawsuits, and started a new line. Sustainable fashion mixed with my wooden toy vibe, pink dresses with carved buttons, bags with reclaimed wood accents, quirky, eco-chic stuff that sold out online in hours. Liam handled production, Sophie ran the PR blitz, and I designed like my life depended on it. Slowly the company stopped bleeding, jobs stayed safe, designers got paid, and Laurent Designs became something people believed in again. Working with Mom was the hardest part. She'd nitpick my ideas. Wood in fashion? Absurd. But then she'd quietly tweak a sketch, making it better. One night, late in the office, she dropped a file on my desk, old supplier contacts, clean ones she'd hidden away. "Use these," she muttered. "They're legit." I looked up, surprised. "Thanks." She shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "Don't get soft on me." It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was close enough. Over months we found a rhythm, not warm, not fuzzy, but functional, a bridge rebuilt, shaky, but standing. 6 months later, I stood in the redesigned showroom, sunlight streaming through the windows onto racks of our new line. The press was there, snapping photos, calling it a comeback story. Mom lingered in the back, arms crossed, but I caught her smiling when a reporter praised the wooden detailing. I'd done what I came for, saved the company, not for her, but for everyone she'd almost dragged down. Later, as the crowd thinned, she walked over. "You didn't have to keep me around," she said, her voice low. "I know," I replied, "but I'm not you." She nodded just once and left. That night, alone in my office, I traced a finger over a wooden toy on my desk. A fox, the first I'd ever carved. I'd turned Mom's betrayal into my triumph, her empire into something honest. Revenge had gotten me here, but rebuilding kept me. I wasn't her shadow anymore. I was my own light.